I will give the mic to you too. Okay. First of all, greeting everyone. Today we have the distinct honor of welcoming two esteemed experts in the field of work integrated learning, Professor Kristina Josefsson and Professor Anna Olsson. Professor Josefsson is a distinguished scholar affiliated with University West in Sweden. Her extensive research encompasses will co-production, quality improvement, sexual health, and higher education development. Her experience and contribution will provide valuable insights into the integration of academic learning with practical experience. In addition, Professor Anna Olsson, also from University West, she made significant contribution to the field of will to advance will practices and understanding the impact on both students and academic institutions. The combined expertise offers a comprehensive perspective on the evolution and implementation of will, particularly within the context of University West pioneering efforts over the past 2 decades. Students, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Professor Josefsson and Olsson. Professors, now the floor is yours.
Thank you. And the plan for this seminar is that we will use a PowerPoint, but we will also then later on in the session use a Miro board and test some of the interactivity that we have presented in the paper that you had as a reading assignment for today. So Anna-Karin, could you please share the presentation?
Yeah, does it look okay?
Yep. Looks okay. And this presentation is called Be Smarter, Strategic Career Planning via Work Integrated Learning in PhD Education. And as Professor Atit introduced me before, I am a professor. I'm from the Department of Health Science, and my background is as a clinical physiotherapist specialized in rheumatology. So I've all my life, during my first 20 years of been working both as a clinician but also in academia. So I have this combined position. And that is really important in this presentation as I present the experience of work life in a combined position where my PhD was not mainly directed towards academia and academic purposes. Instead, it was directed towards improving healthcare and healthcare quality in different ways. So I think that is the aim of why did I do a PhD? What were my career goals back then and what are they now? Is important for my motivation to look at work integrated learning in PhD education. And what about you, Anna-Karin?
I'm an associate professor in business administration. My focus is organization and leadership. And I have also been studying different contexts. So my main interest is the collaboration as presented before between academia and society, different contexts of society. And I work a lot with Kristina. We're joint interest in work integrated learning, but also work in other interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary research projects.
And also that our future work is much more aligned with industry and industrial partners. And when we say industry, we mean all types of enterprises that are outside of academia or publicly financed, like healthcare and social care. So we believe that our future work will be even more transdisciplinary, to be quite honest. And well, let's go further. And you will have the slides. I forgot, Anna-Karin.
Yeah.
Yes, and as I said, we have this project called Smarter, where we do the Smarter workshops, and these workshops have been tested in different types of settings with international PhD students, also with supervisors, and both in international and national context, and also at our university, because the supervision culture differs, and also the view of the need of strategic career development for PhD students differs. And if you don't really see the need, and if you haven't that kind of experience, if you've spent all your life in academia, you will look at strategic career planning differently than if your academic career has been more intertwined with actors outside of academia. So we want you to test the workshop a little bit, but we also want to describe the current research in the field of work integrated learning in PhD education, because that's the highest education we can get. So the question, I got it even yesterday, was, is it really needed? Do we need to have career planning? Do we need to have work integrated learning on the most advanced level of education? And Anna-Karin and I we're Swedish, but I also work in Norway, and we have collaborated with Professor Liesel Massain from South Africa in this project. And our belief is that this is a global issue, and we believe that there's really time to change, and we will describe more of why we think so.
But before that, we are a bit curious about who is in the room. Who are you that are participating today? Could we have just a very short, brief fellow introduction? And could we start with Nan, and then you pass it on to someone else, please? That's possible, or do anyone else like to start?
You hear me,
Yeah.
teacher?
Yeah.
My name is Sophie. I'm from Cambodia. Right now, I'm the head of ASEAN office from the Ministry of Education and Sport Kingdom of Cambodia. Thank you so much, teacher Kristina, for your kind sharing us today. Thank you.
Okay, good evening. Yeah, my name is Nan. I'm originally from Myanmar. Currently, I just live in the university campus. Yeah, we have a nice weather and also good environment and safe and secure here. So maybe if you visit Thailand, we would love to invite you visit our university. Okay, thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Professor, and everyone. My name is Putthakun Ekbalang. I am a technical staff, government technical staff at TVET department. I am in Laos now, and I'm very excited to learn from you all, Professor, and also I hope to gain more expertise from yours. And thank you to teach us and lecture us today. Okay, nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I think maybe the other guy named Pan, he got in the meeting of something. Could you go on, please?
Okay, then we will go on. Thank you for your introduction. It's always nice to know who's in the room.
So, and as a background for our lecture today, we know that PhD education differs both across the world and across disciplines. So we have different traditions, different requirements for PhD education around the world, but it's the highest level of education. And there are many similarities when we look at the expected academic excellence around the world. But there are structural differences that are affecting working conditions during the PhD education and after the PhD education. So the way the PhD education is structured, of course, impacts how you can apply WHEEL in the education. From our point of view, a Swedish PhD education, it's an employed position. You apply for this job. You have full employment benefits like social security, vacation, parental leave, etc. You can also have a part-time PhD position combined with your employment in industry or in other kind of organizations. The PhD education in Sweden is a 4-year full-time, including the individual research project, but also 30 to 90 ECTS of PhD courses. So it's a structured education. And if we look into current research, we know that there is a changing PhD career landscape. The contemporary labor markets are constantly changing. There is a new landscape emerging with an increased focus on training skills that are relevant for a career both inside and outside academia. We also know that PhD programs struggle to deliver PhD graduates that are really prepared for the workplace, and PhD educations are critiqued for not delivering PhD graduates with the necessary employability skills to be a part and to be able to work in a sustainable knowledge society. We also know that there are differences, inequalities regarding age, gender, ethnicity, and disciplinary when it comes to career choices after PhD graduation.
And Anna-Karin, now I get really curious because we all are different. So perhaps you would like to tell us a little bit more about the age, gender, ethnicity, and disciplinary differences. If I were to take my PhD as a Swedish woman, aged 50, if I was to start now, what would that mean for my career choices after PhD? And if I were to choose engineering as my field?
Yes. Engineering is a male-dominated field, so you will be a minority, of course. And we have also research showing, statistics showing that you have less career possibilities as a woman in a male-dominated field and as in the age that you mentioned. We also know that there are very strong disciplinary differences when it comes to if you choose to continue within academia or outside academia. There is also a mobility of PhD graduates, and there is a risk of academic brain drain when PhD graduates don't find their employment in the country where they have had their education, they're leaving that country. And we strongly argue that PhD education needs to transform along with the changes of society. We have to look into curricula, supervision, and all our traditions to meet the needs of the labor market and society, of a contemporary society. So we have to keep the pace along with societal changes. And what about the definitions, Kristina?
Yes, I don't know how interested you all are in definitions, and definitions especially of work-integrated learning. But that is part of my research field, and we currently work in a project called the Wild Deaf Project, which looks into definitions and how they are used and found useful in various research and educational contexts, because we do believe there is diverse needs in how to apply WHEEL. And we think that using just one definition and not really considering why you use that definition is a barrier to development. At the Research School at University West, and perhaps we should say that we are the only university in the world that offers a research school, a PhD, in work-integrated learning. The definition of work-integrated learning at our research school is the following. Work-integrated learning is an interdisciplinary postgraduate subject with connections to primarily the social science and humanities. The subject is defined by issues that focus on the relationship between working life and learning. Working life is defined broadly and also includes forms of other than traditional paid work. And the learning is understood in a broad sense that includes change and socialization processes linked to knowledge and competence. This means that we have a broader definition of work-integrated learning than a traditional, more like undergraduate definition, where we look at structured and formalized contracts between university and an organization outside of the university, where the student does not have a formal responsibility in the same way, and where there is not enough consideration to the knowledge that the student, especially mid-career students, bring into the education through their connections and networks and experience from working life prior to joining the education. So we look at work-integrated learning as a method, a pedagogical method, but also as a philosophy of how we base our pedagogical content, how we look upon collaboration with the outside world and society. And it's also a research field, which we believe, or we know actually from a performed bibliographic review, that this is a rapidly increasing field of research. So one needs to remember this broad sense of work-integrated learning when we talk about work-integrated learning in PhD education, because PhD, that's the responsible, mature, top achievement students that are in the PhD education. So we really believe that WIL is an untapped resource in PhD education, because we believe it to differ. And often the critique from more old-fashioned, traditional professors who supervise PhDs is that they say it's not needed. They do not, PhD students, they will do their research project, and that's the main task. And we do agree on that. That's the main task. A PhD education is to become a fully trained researcher with possibilities to advance to professor, etc. But that's quite limited, because that does not always give you employment after your PhD or career advancement in the way you want. So therefore, work-integrated learning is needed. And we also have the responsibilities and expected independence of PhD students to consider. Therefore, a traditional concept where the university has a contract with an outside organization, well, that doesn't really work for a PhD student, because the PhD student must know, where do I want to go for the future? What is my intention? What is my dreams, my goals, my visions for the world? So that contract perhaps needs to be established along the way for the PhD students. There might need to be like an octopus, where you put your arms a bit here and a bit there and try to find where you want to go. And that wouldn't work with a formalized contract. You might have a formalized contract, as you might be a part-time PhD already connected to an organization or an institution or a department. But you might also look for new opportunities where the work-integrated learning needs to be connected to those opportunities that you are looking for. And we do know that in the labor market, there is a need for both generic and specific skills. And if we look at the PhD, you might gain back again.
Sorry.
You might have very specific skills connected to the research that you have performed in a specific context. But you also gain generic skills, the capacity to go into great amounts of data, analyze and find patterns, find solutions, and connect to other current knowledge. You get a really, you really excel in that. And that's a generic skill from PhD education that you need to be able to present and translate to potential employers, to potential areas where you want to continue with your career. And we believe that this is really important to train PhD students to do. And we also believe that work-integrated learning provides opportunities for networking in a different way than simply a traditional PhD education at university. And we need that networking, especially to overcome the inequalities when it comes to a career after PhD graduation. Because if employers were to see what, for example, a 50+ woman with Swedish ethnicity can give in the engineering department, if you already know somebody, if you then the gender, the age, the ethnicity, if you have, like I have glasses, like a disability in any kind, that becomes less important because your qualities are already being known to that network. So we believe that work integrated learning can also decrease inequalities by giving you the opportunity to show your skills, which also, again, says that work integrated learning is really untapped resource in PhD education. Now, Anna-Karin, please, next slide. And in addition, from the PhD student's view, we believe that work integrated learning can provide a realistic perspective of what's expected in the workplace. And this is important because in Sweden, as we say, we'll put Sweden as an example, being a PhD student is a full-time position with all benefits. Okay, and you get to do research. You get to spend a lot of the time in your own bubble, focusing on your project. And then you might think that that is the world of academia, but it is not. As a professor, you are expected to do so much more. You will never again have 4 years of working in one single direction, at least not many of us will. Instead, you will need to do a lot of different things. So preparing for the reality of the working world after PhD graduation is really important. But there is limited research on work integrated learning in PhD education. So this is a research field where we can really make a difference, but we can also really make a difference in practice and policy by bringing in work integrated learning here. And I think that's the key passion and driving force for me and Anna-Karin, and also for Professor Liesl Massain in this, what should we call it, in this endeavor to change and include work integrated learning in PhD education. So
Yeah.
we would, yes, Anna-Karin, over to you.
So we would like to ask you that are participating today, how does the PhD education in your country enable or hinder or are barriers to work integrated learning? You can choose to respond in the chat, or if you want to raise your hands and discuss openly, you can contribute to this session.
May I answer?
Yes, please.
From Lao situation, like Lao situation, education in Lao is not much of PhD degree, and also the publication on PhD research in Lao as well. Not so much. It's just a little bit. That means the source or the data or the information that valid is very hard to find, and also depend on our culture as well. We have many ethnic group of in Laos, and also in each ethnic there are some different accents at there. So is one barrier of our doing PhD education in Laos PR. I have a bit a bit sharing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So ethnicity and language are barriers.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Language, even though in our country as well. So in the ethnic group, there are also have their own language. We just have only one we call Laotian. Laotian speak Lao, and another ethnic they also have their language as well. Some ethnic group they have a barrier on Lao language as well, because they never learn, never know, and I mean unread or language literature, something like that in my country.
And you also mentioned that there are limited research and limited data on PhD education. Yeah, thank you very much. Any other person that would like to contribute, to share?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. In my country, Myanmar, actually in Myanmar, not only PhD education, even the bachelor educations or master, we don't have like what integrated learning educations or something, and also the educations department in the, I mean the industry or the other company or something, they don't have a connections. Sometimes they feel like it's not related, the educations in business or something. That's why most people in our country, even they graduate, it's rarely to find a job which is related to the subject or major that they study in the university. I think, like that's why for the PhD, it's a bit hard to say. Even for the bachelor degree, there are many challenges, like to include the work integrated learnings. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And perhaps I can just comment there, because our university, University West, we have been given by the Swedish government a request to work with work integrated learning on a national basis to really ensure how to collaborate with organizations. So our university is in the front line of work integrated learning. But as I said, I also work in Norway, where Norway is a rich country. They have very high education and big funding for education in so many ways, but that has started to change. Their economy is going down, so that affects how they need to work with working life relevance. So now there's a lot of legislation and formal documents demanding that education provides working life relevance. So work integrated learning is gaining a higher status in Norway than it has before. And I think, as you mentioned, this collaboration with industry and university, in a lot of parts in Sweden, the connection with mainly industry, I mean heavy industry, producing, manufacturing industry, has been extremely important for success for the country. And Trollhättan, where University West is situated, is a very industrial area. But it's also a very, where we have our industrial areas is also where we have the most of immigration to Sweden. So we have the broadest diversity in ethnicity, and also many people that have been able to thrive by not getting a university education, but working in industry. So we really see the importance of having students that do not come from traditional academic or richer families, but instead they come from our partners, which we would say our industrial partners that make our country thrive. So we believe that the history of the place and the educational culture is important as well to promote work integrated learning. And I also like that you mentioned language, because as you know, in Sweden, we do not speak English as our first language. We speak Swedish or Finnish. And in Norway, it's the same thing. People speak Norwegian. But there is a major difference. Norway has been a rich country. They have a lot of scientific journals, etc., in Norwegian. Sweden does not. If you want to publish and become something within the research field, within academia, you are requested to excel in English. You will write in English. You will study a lot in English. So there's a bit of a different demands depending on the economy and the intention of the government. So our government has been a lot more pro-English than the Norwegian government, who has been more pro their language and their culture. And one can debate which is the best way. There is always two sides to the coin, but I think it's interesting to listen into your experiences, because you need to place work integrated learning in a context, in a setting, to make it real. Otherwise, it becomes just a theoretical perspective. What do you
And I
think,
think,
Ann-Karin?
Kristina, I think you also should mention South Africa as well as another example. They work with this as a national approach to enable a smoother transition from academia to working life. But still, they have some other problems. Would you like to mention some of them, Kristina?
Yes, yes, I do collaborate quite a lot with South Africa and South African universities, and that is mainly because the demographic challenge of Sweden and Northern Europe and the demographic challenge of South Africa and African countries, there is such a difference. In South Africa, there's a young population. The middle age is very, very young. If we look to the Northern European countries, it's a high middle age, and there is few children being born. So if we look at the future, Northern Europeans will be extinct. And I believe, like the dinosaurs, we are not going to be enough of us, and not enough of us to care for our society. We will, and in South Africa, the problem is more to get an employment. They need to be entrepreneurs to a much larger extent, and they need to find new ways to make sure that their competencies are used in the optimal way, because the social security network is not to the same standard as in the Northern European or European Union countries. So I really believe that work integrated learning and the reasoning behind using work integrated learning will differ depending on where you are in the world. And so this brain drain of PhD graduates is more serious when it comes to a country that does not have as many PhDs, because then the country has really invested in that PhD student through so many years of education, and then you're losing it to another country. And I think that's a concern that needs to be brought forward. So we need to make sure that there are good career opportunities in the country where the PhD was educated, while at the same time promoting opportunities for global movement of academic knowledge. So there is so many perspectives put into work integrated learning, so you can hear my passion for this topic.
Yeah, and the approach for our interest into this career planning course that we will mention soon is that the PhD students is independence, they should be there having initiative and personal responsibility. It's the individual PhD students' responsibility to plan for and take actions for their individual career. And we have a Swedish proverb saying, du är din egen lyckas smed, saying that you are the architect of your own happiness and your own future. And we have to, in our courses, we have to constantly remind our students about this, that they are responsible and they are in charge of this. They have to take responsibility for their own career. I don't know if you all recognize that.
And that's also a little bit of the difference of the traditional work integrated learning, where there is then the contract which the university has with an organization. That differs. Then the student is just like a boat floating on the sea somewhere where the wind takes you. It doesn't work like that. In work integrated learning in PhD education, and I would believe in work integrated learning also master and bachelor, you should make sure that you are the happiness, the architect of your happiness. And this proverb is not to blame you if you do not succeed. It's the proverb says like, this is your opportunity. You can do it. So when you translate it, it's never really the same essence, but we try to say what the true meaning of the proverb.
Yeah, and if we look at the objective of work integrated learning in PhD education, the aim is to enhance the skills in career crafting, independence, and skills matching. As we mentioned just before, the problem was matching skills with the labor market in various contexts. And also, as we know, if a PhD graduate will stay in academia, they need pedagogical skills as well. So we include activities to enhance pedagogical skills. as they will, if they continue in academia, they will work as teachers and researchers. We also add on the lifelong ability, lifelong learning, and also again to take responsibility for competence matching, transitions in working life, and we see from forecasts that we will continue to make a lot of work-life transitions in the coming years. And those transitions are also beneficial to their career, but also for society and industrial needs. In a changing labor market, in a changing society, we must be able to find different ways, different transitions. And we must be flexible. We also mentioned, of course, there should be the theoretical disciplinary skills within a certain field. But you can also make sure that you have transferable skills for industry and academia. Those could be that you are, during your PhD education, that you have activities that enhance your leadership skills, skills then it comes to project management, people management, and time management. Could be financial and business management skills. So you are prepared to take on a project leadership role. And of course, we mentioned networking before. Social and networking skills are also of importance inside academia and outside academia. And when it comes to those traditional skills that we have, academic writing, academic research communication, grant proposals, application writing, project management, and so on, those are extremely important that you have the opportunity to train on those skills that you really need if you're staying inside academia. Yeah, anything you would like to add there, Kristina?
I think it's about the presentation and communication of your skills, that is also a skill in itself that needs to be trained, because we might, if you have, like in Sweden, spent 4 years in the PhD education, you are so, or everyone around you is really good at the same things. So when you go outside of that context, you sometimes forget the excellence that you have, your super skills. So you need to remember those because you are unique outside of the academic context. And I think that is something to be trained in as well. In Sweden, we do not act like Donald Trump. That is not in our culture to say that we are the best and we are so good and amazing. So if I, as a Swede, compete with an American about a job, I will fail that job because I do not know how to supersize myself. So we need to practice in daring to say, I'm really good at what I'm doing. And this is especially important as a woman because it's cultural. I'm sure that if you were to tell me about the culture in your countries, you would have different ways where you were say like, well, for me, I would present myself this way and this way. And we need to practice saying that I am extremely talented and I can make wonders for you and your company or in my own entrepreneurial company. And that's something we tend to forget when we are surrounded by people who are excellent. So make sure to know in what context you can say that you're excellent compared to the others and that you feel comfortable in saying so.
And also be able to translate your skills to different contexts, to different employers. Yeah, and as Kristina mentioned in the introduction, we have had some workshops and we built these workshops around certain themes and questions. And we had this overall question, where do you as a PhD student want to be in 1, 5 or 10 years after your PhD is completed? And how will you get there? So we were probing the students to start thinking and to start planning and thinking ahead during their education. This is not something that should start after graduation. You should constantly keep these plans in your head and continue. What kind of tools can you use? What kind of activities are needed? How will you get there? And we also ask them, where am I going and what do I need to do? Again, the own individual's responsibility to put your goals on paper, on writing, or in your computer, and to identify your top skills. So you are able to brag about your top skills, really to use your top skills when you want to be employed. And also to identify your needed skills. If I want to reach my goals in 5 years, for instance, what kind of skills do I need to get? Can I find those inside academia, or do I need to look at those skills elsewhere? And how do I achieve those skills? That's what we refer to as wheel activities. So wheel activities doesn't necessarily need to be something that the research schools give you. It should be activities that you also identify yourself. So that will make a smoother transition to your future employment. And we also, during the workshops we have performed with international students, we also ask them to summarize, what are your next steps? What do you need to do? What do your supervisors need to do? What do your research schools need to do? So you can plan ahead, but you can also have expectations on your supervisor or on your school.
And in this, I would like to say that we often feel that there is too high expectations on the supervisors. One has to remember, after graduation, you might be competing with the supervisor. So who is actually going to support you for the future? What type of independence and networks and so forth do you get? And this is very dependent on who the supervisor is and the supervisor's capacities and personalities and so forth. So I think when we ask what do supervisors need to do, we really have to look at who are the supervisors where in the context where I am at. And it's the same with what do the research schools need to do? What type of research schools, universities do we have in the context where I'm at or where I'm reaching for?
Yeah, and Kristina, these are some examples.
Yes, these are some examples from the previous workshops. We worked with the Miro boards. I don't know if you are familiar with working with Miro boards, but we will introduce you to the Miro board here later on. And then each PhD students pick one column and they pick a fake name. And we use fake names to make sure that you can be really whoever, and that nobody can collect the data afterwards with your name on it and think something like, if I'm the examinator of the course, you shouldn't be like stressed by me knowing your goals or where you want to go. Instead, you can pick whatever name you want to. And also, as you can see, there is no real order on the lines with the goals and the skills. It's not like really straight lines here. And that's also because sometimes you need to rearrange your post-its and every participant can move them around and put them on top of each other and organize them differently. And once we have been doing this, we realize that it is often easy to put up the goals. Might be okay to do the skills, but when we come to the activities that you need to do to get there, that's harder. So we believe that this process of doing this together, it sharpens the thinking of the students and it brings them to deeper reflections. And we do the workshops in several steps. We're not going to do all of them here, but you will see how we work with it and move around things and create discussions. And we have noticed that this creates a change in the thinking of the PhD students. And mainly it's because there comes a reality check. And that's important. When we look, sorry.
Yeah, continue, please.
Yes. When we look at work integrated learning, as I said, this is the most difficult ones for the participants because it's a new way of thinking for many of the participants. We look at, do you really find real activities? So then we ask them to look at all the post-its, notes in the Miro board. And then we look at the reflections of feasibility, reflections of priority of where to go, and actions to create change. And I think I love ambition. I love that people want to do different things. You might think me, you don't know me, as extremely ambitious. But if you knew me, you would know that I work 50%, not full-time, 50% until my children moved away from home. So I might be very traditional in some aspects, very family-oriented, not moving away from family to do my career and so forth. So that's something you have to bring into feasibility of the real activities that you plan for yourself. What's feasible for me? Not feasible for everyone, for me. And when we look about feasibility, if you just write, I want to be a full professor in 10 years. Well, that's a great ambition. But do you really know what a professor does? Do you really know if it's possible to become a full professor in 10 years in the country and the place where you want to be? And then there might be issues like, I want to start a company. I want to get that Swedish national funds for starting a company. Well, do you fulfill the requirements? What is feasible? And this connects to the priority. Which tasks can be my priority to reach where I want to go? And maybe you have to take the small steps first, and your action might need to be small steps, but you need to consider what actions do I need to do to create the change that makes my future as bright as I wish it to be. And some PhD students say, I have no ambitions. I don't like the word career. I don't like that. I don't think that's nice. It can have a very negative sound as I'm going to promote myself in front of others. It depends on culture again. But I think that you can say that, but I don't believe it. Because if you didn't want to do something and progress in your life, you wouldn't choose a PhD education. You wouldn't be there. So I believe you might still have something you want. It might just be to have fun at your workplace. That's great. But it's something that makes you go there. So knowing yourself is also important when you choose your work integrated learning activities. Yes, so here now you have received the link to the Miro board. And I don't know whether it's the easiest way to take the link, Anna-Karin, and put it in the chat. Can you do that?
Yes, I will do that. Hang on.
And if you stop sharing, so I can share my Miro board as well.
Yes. There you have the chat. The link to the chat in the link to the Miro board in the chat.
Yes, and we will ask all of you to go into this link and connect to Miro, and then you will be able to get into this Miro board. And the Miro board should, if you look out, it should look like this. You should see all of this, and it's just to stretch the Miro board in any way. And once you've gotten in there, I would like you to place yourself in this area of the Miro board. As you can see, I'm here in the example area. That's where I am.
And this is just a way for you to try this digital tool. Maybe it's of use for you in your other assignments, courses, or whatever.
And the Miro board is free of use for 2 boards, I believe. And if you are employed by an academic institution, you can use it freely for as many boards and teams as you wish. You can also pay and get a bigger version of the program, but this version works nicely for us in the context where we work with it. Now I lost you here. Why does it look like this? Sorry. Here it should be. Yes. Brilliant. Anna-Karin, do you still see the Miro board now?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Professor, may I interrupt you?
Yes.
Before we go further, could you elaborate on the details? Why 1, 5, and 10 years? Why not 6 months, 2 years, and 20 years, something like that?
Yes, it's a very pragmatic choice, I think. because mainly a lot of PhD students say that after graduation, they want to travel, they want to have vacation, they want to have a break after these 4 years of heavy work. And also they might have some leftover data that they can use to publish something on. So often they can get through for a couple of months, just, still have funding. And because the employment contract doesn't end like with a smash, it's a bit of time there. And then when we say 6 months, it's probably because we talk a bit about the application process, the time it takes to apply for things. So maybe 6 months is a bit short for us. I think that if I was on master level or bachelor level, I think I would have said within 3 months, because that's when you would really need to have found your job, to get money to get there. But after a PhD, it will take a little bit more time to get those positions, as the application process takes a longer time. And then we have put up 5 to 10 years, because 20 years is so far ahead, we don't at all know what's going to be like our reality. And perhaps 10 years is also too far away. We just started on this, but we're still developing the smarter workshops. So I'll bring that with me. And Anna-Karin, I think we really can think about that, because perhaps we should ask, through your working life, where would you want to end? That's a good question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
I can see that Anna-Karin is on the board, but I can't see anybody else yet. Have any one of you managed to get into the board? If there are difficulties to get into the board, I will just continue and present the example that we put up here. And the example here is from previous workshops. It's like a compilation of how PhD students have been thinking. And this is a PhD student who comes from the health sector and has a PhD in rehabilitation. And that's a PhD student that says, I want to start my own physiotherapy clinic, focusing on my expertise area. So that's an entrepreneurial goal. But the PhD student still also wants to publish in high-ranked journals, which in 5 years, and proceed an academic career as a professor at Harvard in the US, and have a balance between teaching and research. And these 4 goals, well, they're a bit hard to combine, because starting your own enterprise and also excel in academia and research and have a life balance between teaching and research. I find that if I were to mentor these PhD students, I would really start to discuss feasibility and priorities first. Which is the main goal? Which is your own true goal? Or which can be maybe perhaps somebody else's goal influencing you? I think that's important to think about. And when we do the workshops, we can see that the participants, they do change around the goals. So some of these goals will be removed if we wait throughout the workshop. They will change around and they will add on or rephrase. And I think that's important, because when you say publish in a high-ranked journal, is that the main aim, or is it to create an impact? What is the main aim, or why do you have an aim to publish in a high-ranked journal? So we try to discuss the goals from feasibility, priority, but also, are they really your goals? And if they look at the skills that this PhD student think is important, that this person has, is hardworking, social skills in 3 languages, which connects to our previous discussion on languages, pedagogically organized creative thinking, and writing academic text. And when I look at it, I would also say, well, a true skill here would be to be creative, to be persistent, and to be ready to put in the hard work when needed. I would say a unique skill is probably the 3 languages. That is something, depending on the job context, that can be truly valuable. To be organized when you teach, well, if I don't know how much you have been teaching, or if you've been teaching under pressure, perhaps I would prioritize that skill less. And writing academic text, that doesn't tell me like, how do you excel in that? And in which language? You mentioned 3 languages here. Do you have brilliant skills in all 3 languages? Creative thinking is great, but how do you really assess creative thinking? So how can you prove that you have that skill? How will that skill continue on and be productive for your future? And if we then look at, the goals were a bit all over the place, and we got some skills that we really can sense, others which are a bit harder to assess. And then we have the wheel activities that this PhD student have been thinking about. Find a mentor in a private physiotherapy clinic, a manager. I think that's a really good one, because that's a very specific goal to start your own enterprise, your own clinic. And if you are unsure of how that would work out, how much hard work do you have to put in? Is it possible to combine that with academic research and writing and publications and teaching? Or is this something that is a 100% endeavor that I need to focus on? And looking at talking to a manager, having a manager as a mentor, I think is a really good choice here to discuss that goal and find which skills would really suit if I want to do that. Because if we look at the skills, pedagogically organized and writing academic text might not really suit for a top skill for that endeavor to be an entrepreneur. Another wheel activity is to partake in bachelor supervision. I think that's a great choice if you want to excel, to become a professor in 10 years and have a balance between teaching and research, because that is an issue. If you are a part-time PhD student or doing your PhD student in a different country where it's not as structured and employment, like if you were to do your PhD in South Africa, you will be doing it in your spare time and have another job on the side. And if you then want to go to academia, you might really need to show that you have teaching and supervision experience to be able to get that job. So if you can, for free, partake in bachelor supervision or shadow a bachelor supervisor, that could give you a work integrated learning activity that could be useful for you, and also useful for knowing if that's a future profession that you want. And that connects to shadowing a lecturer in health and leadership at the university where this person is at. That is a good way. Work integrated learning through shadowing. And we're not talking that as a work placement, but actually to ask, can I join you for a day at your work? To actually just shadow is really a great learning experience, because you get to see so many other things than if they organize a work placement for you. It's totally different. So you can learn more about the position where you think you want to work. And also work as a research assistant during holidays. Well, that's an activity that you can do if you want to proceed to research, but there might be only few such positions. So perhaps connections with other research assistants, or forming a collaborative enterprise that offer research assistant services is one way of working with this. And then we have a Contact International Network in Physiotherapy Research. Yes, it can never be too highly focused that work with your network. I encourage everyone regardless of educational level, to work with their network, both the network in collegial network, but also their competitive network and social network. And there are so many easy ways to create a network and work with it. And I really want to say that the Smarter Workshop and the Smarter Research projects all started from a meeting at a digital conference where Liesel Massain, Professor Massain, was presenting one project. I presented another project in the same session. We simultaneously contacted each other after the session, one on ResearchGate and one on LinkedIn, and saying, I'm so interested in your research. Can we please be in touch? And thereafter, we had another digital meeting. So we created a lot of our research without ever meeting physically and being in totally different contexts and places of the world. So the networking can create big changes. And now our two universities last month wrote a memorandum of understanding for future collaboration in research and education. So it's just less than 3 years that I met Liesel, and we are still now on this level of achievement. So networking is truly important. Do you want to add anything, Anna-Karin?
I can say 2 things about using a digital tool like this, where your students use fictive names. They can independently write their own goals and reflections and skills and so on, but still they can also keep an eye on what the others are writing. And we can all easily get back to them. In our workshop, we have done this in several steps, and we also noticed that they start a reflection process, starting in the first Miro board, and then they mature in their reflections on thinking of goals, skills, and real activities for future and contemporary career planning. So this is one way, and you can easily reflect jointly using this kind of tool. We had a hybrid course, so we had students in the classroom, but also students online.
Yeah, and these are types of comments that start up like when they are doing this, and they can all move around their post-its, and sometimes they add it to somebody else's and really show like what they think. And when they work with this, we experience that they also start to communicate a lot more, because the participants have been from different universities, countries, etc., and disciplines, and it might be difficult to just discuss openly. But when you use this tool, it can sometimes be easier to get your views ahead across and feel a bit safer. We have also done the Smarter Workshops live with traditional paper post-it notes on whiteboards. And there is one thing perhaps regarding ethics that we should mention, that after each session, we are open to everyone removing their post-it notes. They do not need to leave them there. They can, if it's in paper, they can just like take your post-it notes when you leave. They are yours. It's private. We have just used them for this exercise. And it's the same with the online Miro boards. We leave them open. So when the session closes, the students that have attached post-its on their future career goals, they can really just remove their post-its afterwards. And then we close the Miro board like a week later or something. Because then we say that, well, if you've left it, it's okay for us to use it and learn from it. And I think that is really important, to make sure to be open about that. Even if we deal with it now during the workshop, it's not going to be here forever if you don't want it to. And do you have anything you want to add to that, Anna-Karin?
Yeah, and they are also encouraged to be as personal as they give as much personal details as they feel they want to. So you can have very superior goals. You don't have to be very personal and specific in that case if you don't want to. You can still be part of the workshop.
Yeah, and once we have done this activity here, We ask them to write up, like I did the big notes here, like their first thoughts, and then we write a summary together, writing us what we believe down here together. And they can also fill in and add to that after the session. It's up to them how they use this. So we are not like true owners of the session. But what we do work with is the follow-up workshops, where we look at what I need to do. That's pink post-its, what the supervisors need to do, orange, and what do the research school need to do. And if we want to say a bit more about this, I would like to say that what I need to do, what we mainly see on these pink post-its, is that the students express that I need to really think this through a lot more. I really need to work with my career planning and thinking and discuss it with those who are important to me and to see where I'm heading for the future. And then I need to think what are feasible work integrated learning activities to reach that. When it comes to what the supervisors need to do, I believe that Anna-Karin and I and Lisel have changed a bit in our presentation of this, because first it was all so many post-its on what the supervisors needed to do, but now we have really put more pressure on that this is your own responsibility. The supervisor might have 10 PhD students and 20 master students and 35 bachelor students. We cannot take the responsibility for your future career. It has to be your individual choice. And also, we do not really know your inner ambitions and where you want to go and what's important to you in your life. So therefore, we think that what the supervisors need to do is now much more concentrated around providing life experience, providing stories of what success and failure and dealing with success and failure, and putting those things on the agenda, and supporting whom to contact for grant writing skills, for being able to get in contact with companies, those kind of things, supporting the networking. And when we look at what the research school need to do, I believe that there is very often very structural, very managerial suggestions here, that they want to have reoccurring workshops on career planning. They want to have opportunities to meet up and discuss. Those who are only in academia want to be able to meet up and discuss possibilities to collaborate more with organizations outside of academia. They also want to learn more about the hierarchical steps in academia, how you reach to steps, next steps, and how the processes are. They need to know more. That's information and knowledge session that are needed. Is there anything you want to add there, Anna-Karin?
No, I just want to say that this way of working with the workshop, you can, as Kristina said, you can use it in a digital way, or you can use it in a traditional classroom using a whiteboard and traditional sticky notes.
Yeah. And we also work with the final phase, where we worked with what are my next steps, where we really specify, prioritize, and plan and do the action. Because there's a way to go from planning to doing, and we really want them to do. And we as well work with ourselves as how do we do career planning? How do we mentor? How do we become mentored by others in where we want to go? And I think that is important as well, to show that this is a lifelong process. And we now are working with our next PhD course, which we will inform you more about. So perhaps then I should stop sharing, Anna-Karin.
And we continue in the PowerPoint?
Yes.
We have some questions, reflections, but I think you mentioned those during your talk, Kristina.
Yes,
Would you like
we
us
can
to
go
continue?
to the next.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what are the
Because
preliminary results? Yes, please.
yes, I would really say that a key issue is the degree of independence. Where are you, and where are you heading, and how do you get there is your own responsibility, as we have stressed now. But we also find that work integrated learning, but also career planning is an unspoken topic. It's not discussed enough, and perhaps that is our culture, that you should not put yourself above others, but we really need to, because we live in a global world and we will competing with others. And if we want to reach our goals, we really have to talk about them to see how to get there. And this connects to immaturity and naivety that we have here, that a lot of persons seem to think that this will happen. And for me, that has worked at several universities before coming to University West, I perhaps think that as many of the PhD students that I meet on a daily basis are from this region, and they also have worked at the university prior to becoming PhD students, they perhaps had a history of things happening. But I believe in the greater competition, like in Oslo, where I work at the University in Norway, the competition is greater from international students. And I think that it doesn't happen, you know. You have to really work hard to get it. And so I think we need to be more mature in those discussions. But this also goes for the supervisors. They are likewise, if they are from this more secluded environment, I might think that things will happen. Well, they won't, unless you really work hard. Or they might happen if you are of the right gender, the right age, the right ethnicity, etc. But they won't happen for everyone. And I think that when we talk about limited social monitoring, I don't know if you want to fill in on that, Anna-Karin?
Yes, we noticed that. I think that's linked to the dependence on the supervisor. Yeah, and we notice very strong dependence on the supervisors, and that PhD students really expect that the supervisor will still be a part of the future career. And that's something we need to make the PhD students aware of, that they have to be independent.
And I think that's really important, because as I'm also on committees where we look at applications for jobs and positions, and also for going to the next level in academia, like are you ready to become an associate professor and so forth. Independence is one of the key features that you are asked to clarify. And if you only continue to produce with your supervisor, that will put you down on the ratings regarding independence. So you really have to show that you are an independent researcher if you want to proceed in academia. So knowing that and understanding the process, because it's a lot about understanding the process, having the information, the insider information of where you are, where you want to be, is important. So I think that's something that we have really stressed and discussed. And this is, as we say, we have continued to work with this, and the more we do it, the more action is happening in the field, to be quite honest. We are now harvesting the fruits from this research project, which is really, really interesting. And I think that's, we are realizing that this project, the Smarter Workshop and the Smarter Activities and Work Integrated Learning in PhD education, is becoming mentioned by leaders at the university, and not only at our university, but also outside with our collaborative partners, that they want to be part of this. They want to get those excellent PhD students to their organizations, and they want to make sure they have the driven PhD students, the excellent ones. I think that all PhD students really are the excellent ones, because they're top of the tops. But not everyone has the ability to present themselves as such. But it's interesting that the interest is really created.
Yeah, and we also discussed how to expand the course to include PhD graduates that also needs this career planning skills to move further in their careers.
And that's also coming from PhD graduates that are asked to be allowed into our PhD courses. And unfortunately, we had these rules saying that you need to be a PhD student to be allowed. You're not allowed once you have graduated. And that's telling us that they missed out on something.
Yeah.
So we can have the workshops open. Yes.
So, what are the take-home messages?
So please let us know, what do you bring with us? As we didn't know you, we do not know if we bring new knowledge, old knowledge. Please let us know what your thoughts are. And you do not need to write in the chat, as we are not that many. We can also discuss freely if you wish to.
What are your reflections listening to us today?
Okay, for me, I have learned that, like the PhD educations in my country also, we must add work integrated learning in PhD education in my country. I mean, actually not only PhD and other level as well, in bachelor and also master degree as well. I have a questions as well. Like the question is like, how do you measure the success of the Blue IL workshop in terms of improving PhD students' career planning and employability? Yes.
As we haven't done so many yet, we cannot put up the value or the outcomes for a long-term perspective at the moment. We cannot do that. Instead, we have to look at the feedback we are being given by previous participants. And as, for example, when we see that the PhD students approach us and say, my network has increased, I did this and this, thank you very much. Or when they say, my publication got published, as I did this and this, I contacted the journal editor, I did this and this, I'm very happy for that. I have had discussions now with my supervisors, and I want to do this. My supervisor is not in agreement, what should I do? And then we can say that we cannot say what you should do, but we can say it's great that you started discussion. So it's lost a lot from this informal contact that doesn't normally occur. When you have a workshop at a conference or a workshop for 2 or 3 sessions that somebody can apply to, they might contact you and say, thank you very much, but not much more. But when you get the contact afterwards, after like 2, 3, 4, 6 months, and then you made an impact here, because every person has so much going on in their life. So you don't go back in contact unless something happened. And we also believe that our supervisory collegial group, I don't really know what the right name would be in English, but where all supervisors meet. When they bring this strategic career planning with work integrated learning on the agenda now, every monthly meeting, then we know something has changed, because it was never there before. So I think then the PhD students act as ambassador for such discussions. Well, we don't know yet, but hopefully, I would love to say that everyone who has attended the workshops has their dream jobs within 10 years, but that would be totally unrealistic, unfortunately. So I have to do this qualitative outcome measurement. What would you say, Anna-Karin?
I think I agree with you, and also I think the interest for the course at the university and from the management at the university also is an impact. We also have colleagues at other universities that clearly show that this is missing in PhD education today in Sweden.
And perhaps you should then go on to the next slide.
Yes.
And this is part of what we think is a great outcome, is that the STARS EU Alliance has asked to join into doing a blended intensive program course on strategic career planning with work integrated learning. So when we create interest across Europe for a small PhD course in Sweden, then we are knowing that we have found something of importance.
And we will send you this the PowerPoint slides So please look into the course. It's possible to apply for the course, and it's including 1 week in Sweden. And the course is given in this spring, 2025.
And the course will be all digital in August 2026. So it's like new opportunities. And if you are interested, like you mentioned, in work integrated learning on bachelor and master level, please go to University West webpage, because you will find that every program at our university is quality assured from the perspective of work integrated learning. So you could find the discipline of your interest and take contact with teachers and managers of those programs and or courses, and you can ask for how is work integrated learning performed in your program or course, and everyone should immediately be able to answer that, because that's part of the quality assurance or quality certifications of work integrated learning at our university. So feel free to contact.
Yes. Any other questions or comments? I think we have reached the end of our presentation. Yeah.
Professor,
Yes.
you hear me? I'm here from Cambodia. Yes. Yeah. From the touching my heart. PhD student is a full-time position. Yeah. So right now I'm still working for the government. So I heard this phrase. Make me. I need to. Delegate some tasks to my staff. So I need to take more time with my PhD class. Yeah. Regarding the scholarship here, may I know that the term and condition, the student scholarship at the SUT, we cannot apply for other scholarship. So this means if I can find like a 1 week or 2 week scholarship in other country, it's just like the complementary, to support my PhD class. So can I apply or what? I don't know. If conflict, the SUT. So, teacher, you got my point.
It's a bit difficult to hear you, but I think the point is that it's hard for you to join in at another university depending on the scholarships because of the rules of your university when it comes to such courses like this. I can totally understand that, and that's why we've had
You are right. Yeah. You
that's
are
why
right.
we've had the workshops at international conferences as well, where there are PhD students, and those workshops have been open, like just join in if you are at the conference and we will do the workshops together. So that's why we have the course. It's a bigger venture where we of course delve deeper into things, but the workshops at the international conference has been one way to work with such issues without compromising any scholarships or employment rules or anything, and also to ensure that international PhD students network, connect, and discuss the future of research globally.
I understand, Professor. Yeah. So I will discuss more with teacher Atik for this. If we, it's not conflicting, the scholarship between SUT and other university that they also offer the scholarship, like a short course for some subject that we are interested, we can apply for just to support more, the PhD class at the SUT. Yeah, not apply
in my
for the 2
opinion,
weeks.
there are no conflict between this program because it's just a short course. No conflict. You can apply.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, this was
that's all for me. Yeah.
Yes. And this was the end of our talk. We hope that you are. We hope that you will join us on the venture of getting work integrated learning into all level of education, also on the highest levels. And thank you, Professor Atit, for inviting us.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Let me say something. I also would like to thank you you two, Professor Josefsson and Olsen, for such an insightful and engaging lecture. Your discussion on view in PhD education, particularly its role in improving networking skill and providing realistic workplace perspective, has given us a lot to think about. I especially appreciated the Swedish proverb you share. You are the architect of your own happiness, right? Which beautifully encapsulates the empowerment that will offer to PhD students.
Thank you.
Let me say another thing. Your ability to explain concepts clearly and provide concrete examples has painted a vivid picture of the benefits and potential of will in PhD education. On behalf of everyone, I sincerely thank you for your time, effort, and the wisdom you have shared with us today. Okay. Thank you once again, and we hope to learn from you again in the future. ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor. Thank you,
Professor.
Dr.
Thank you.
Ajit.
Yeah, have a nice day. Thank you. นั้นNan already left. Protocol, you already submit the insightful reflection.
In article
Yeah,
reflection.
Yeah.
For this subject.
Yeah.
Yes, I already submit.
Okay.
And you?
Not yet.
Let me
Actually,
ask you something.
I'm very.
Do you pass the score? Do you get the
Zero.
score from your? Huh?
I get a 0 score.
Really?
Because I didn't submit the insightful reflection for the first two professor.
Really?
Yeah.
In each
Because
class, we also must to submit.
Teacher Atit just send me a lot and make me messy. I don't catch up. What he's going to do. And
yeah, I understand. Me also very confused about the time cards and also the deadline of our submitted assignment. Especially we must follow the live chat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, don't worry because Professor
after this I will
Professor Atit will request us to retest or resubmit for the assignment, right?
Yeah. After this, I will suggest him, to send one by one. Otherwise, he always send, like a few lecturers, a few documents, and sometimes I miss out, the information.
He's tried to supervise us, and he quite explain a lot, and we must spend our time to read, take a look, and take especially I will suggest you to see the deadline for the submit. It's very important for him.
Yeah.
He needs very expected from us to another lecturer or another class for this subject. An issue of
What about the session during working hours? Because we are not supposed to join the session during working hours.
I'm not sure because we must manage our time. Maybe
because
you can writing email to individual professor email and also telling your conflict or telling your how to follow or attend the class.
Yeah, sure.
And if they are
After
listening
this, I will. Yeah, I will inform him. Yeah, I will inform him.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Protocol. Yeah, have a nice
Okay,
day.
okay. Sorry to hear that. Okay, for your score,
That-
I think you have
Yeah.
more time to do the retest.
Yeah, okay, I hope so. Yeah.
Good,
Okay, thank
good
you.
luck, Sophia. Okay,
Yeah, okay, thank you.
bye.